Welcome to this Airwalk Reply podcast, the big questions in tech, hosted by Joe de Freitas. Joining him are subject matter experts Claire Stockdale, Jemma Humphries and Alice Keal. Together they tackle the big questions in business analysis.
Welcome back to Big Questions in Tech with Airwalk Reply. This is part 2, discussing the role of the BA. This is going to, I guess, come across as an obvious question to ask, but why is analysis so important now? And how has that changed over time? Like, we are seeing the BA become a more integral part. What is that for? Like, why is it so important now?
I think with, as we've spoken about a lot, there's a lot of change and it's happening quite quickly and people are wanting to adopt onto it or gain into it quite quickly. But you do need to take a step back because, the industries that we're working in, either public sector or the financial service or just any highly regulated space, you need to, whilst you're trying to leverage this new emerging technology, you need to also think about other things. So, we've got environmental impacts, we've got the financial side of things, you've got the security side, the data side. It's almost like, okay, before we can start looking at where these digital solutions can take you, take a step back and are you actually prepared for the impact of these? And it's all about, so the business analyst can really work out what's going to be the impact of you adopting these new solutions from those kind of really key points, like, are you secure enough? Have you got the operational resilience? Is this in line with, environmental factors? Like, so, for example, a lot of things like cloud and AI adoption, huge environmental impacts. So, organisations are trying to manage their green technology and green finance on top of trying to leverage this new and exciting technology. It's that whole paradox of how can we leverage this new stuff, but also, aligned to the strategic and external factors.
And how then does the organisation respond once you've put in those large transformations of AI or cloud capabilities? What does your operating model look like? You need that support for somebody to come in and look holistically at what does it mean for the people on the ground. Where are the savings? Does it change your operating model? Does it change departmental functions? Does it change roles? Does it change the skill sets that you need? So the role of the business analyst becomes a lot broader at that point. They're managing the impacts of the change, if you like.
And we mentioned cost there. So cost is really fundamental, especially with the Trump tariffs. Price of chips is going up. The cost of cloud computing, so data centre costs are going up. Ultimately, that will get passed on to consumers, the company. So it's really going out to talk to your operations, your procurement function, as understand that and bringing that into your business cases and your ROI. So I think that it's just making sure everything's covered, and it's a huge range of, as we've said before, it's a big range of different factors to bring into play.
Has that not always been the case? Like, I know we're talking a lot about technological advancements and those sort of aspects of it, but that's always been the case, right? Like, whether it's 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, 10s, that's always happened. So why does it feel different now? I
think from what I'm seeing is, so I spoke a lot about the environmental impact or the financial side of things. There's a lot more pressure now on organisations. Like if they want their new customers, they want that the people are starting to look at how organisations are working and where their values are, and values are becoming really important anyway. So who you buy from, kind of thing. So I think it's really important that when you are looking at these new solutions, you are thinking about that wider impact and how that reflects on your organisation. And so that's why when you're doing these business analysis, having that person who does that wider picture, that big sky thinking of thinking, oh, okay, actually, if you're going to start using, AI for generating emails, that's got a lot of environmental impact for something that's not really doing that much value in your organisation. Okay, it's saving you 5 minutes to generate an email or something. But if you're using it for something that's genuinely valuable, so for example, quality assurance, that has a much wider impact on genuine benefit use case for it.
Yeah.
So people are more likely to be like, okay, actually, yes, that's a good use of that.
So your BA almost has to become your brand strategist as well.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It is really understanding where the best use of your AI capability or new tech is in terms of that, because, you can... You don't want to apply it to everything because you just simply, I don't think the business understand necessarily how much that costs and how you've got to fund that.
I think what's also changed is, particularly from a product perspective, are the expectations of the customers that you're delivering to, because everybody is much more tech savvy. Everybody expects everything within with seconds and minutes, and developing products that are intuitive and meet the customer's requirements do require very, very strong business analysis requirements, acceptance criteria, product delivery and good testing, all those things that business analysts do during the product development life cycle are just becoming more and more critical.
And I think technical solutions, are much more complex than they used to be. So it's ensuring, and I think the engineering capability required to deliver those solutions, because I think there's probably some thoughts that maybe from the business that you can just get them off the shelf, these AI solutions, and actually it's the engineering capability required to build that in order to deliver a robust, safe, reliable solution productionized. I think it's really the BA can really break that down and communicate that out. And maybe break it down into simpler, more iterative that we've talked about deliverable steps for the business. So I just think that the complexity is vast today compared to what it was probably a few years ago.
I think that's a nice segue. So it wouldn't be a tech podcast without talking about AI, which we already have done. But thinking specifically about the role of AI for the business analyst, I guess everyone's always, as we've already mentioned, right? Everyone's always thinking about how can I use AI, maybe not responsibly sometimes, maybe not necessary. But what is the role of AI for the BA? I really want to dive into that a little bit more and understand a bit more around that.
I mean, I think we've discussed it a little bit earlier, but it's that whole idea of it's there to aid you. It's not there to replace you. AI, there will always be the need for the business analyst. It's more just, it's the tool sets it can give you. So we've spoken about, like the summarization, the better data analysis, the better tools to generate things quickly, to get those templates, to get that standardization. I mean, you've also got to be cautious with it because, all these great tools, you can't just be putting like sensitive data into like the data sets and then getting that summarization of your company's private documents. Yeah. So you do have to be careful when you're using these tools. But they really can help, with the efficiency of it all and, almost help you with like the creativity side of things. Like, I've got this data set, but I don't really know how I want to reflect it or show it to an audience. AI can quickly help you, prototype things. And even with prototypes, like it's so much quicker now. Like if you haven't got that developer background, there's the tools out there that can help you quickly whip up like a website view in matter of minutes, rather than it taking you 2-3 hours, which means that you can constantly get that feedback from both your audience and your team.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think if you think about, at the moment, AI augments the software delivery cycle with Copilot. You can generate code or user stories and so forth, automated tests. But actually, is the future roadmap to have AI agents that can actually deliver code. And actually then would the BA have to think about when they're creating requirements and they're breaking them down, is this for an AI agent to code or is this for one of my senior software engineers to code? And working closely with that, and are the outputs right? So that's what you've got quality assurance there for quality engineering and the software engineers as well. But yeah, it's probably thinking about differently about the delivery cycle. That's probably just one example. But yeah, I don't think anything can replace that BA critical thinking, what we've talked about, that devil's advocate. And hopefully the BA can then deal with more complex problems and you can offload, it's that mental load, isn't it? Offload some of the simpler tasks to the AI tooling.
So do you see a not so distant future again, where the role of the BA evolves and, as you say, you can automate a lot of tasks and you can get AI to do a lot of the work for you. So does that change the role almost to delivery assurance from the BA, or is there other stuff involved there where you feel the BA adds value as a traditional BA still?
Yeah, I think you probably want to be careful with that, because I know the very act of process mapping or writing requirements has then got the cogs in my brain working, and then I've thought of other requirements and then thought about the solutions that we could offer and those options. So I think it's the BA can use all those tools, but you still need that human thinking process and that deep thought over those. So yeah, so I don't think it is. I think you absolutely still need the BA, but they've just got tool sets to help them to get, I suppose, to conclusions or summaries or trawl through the vast amounts of information and data more quickly.
And I think we're focusing quite a bit on software development, but the current landscape of change also includes a lot of work in terms of operational resilience as well and cybersecurity. And we'll see business analysis supporting the development of operating models that support that. So identifying critical business infrastructures, gearing up the process for monitoring change in operational resilience and demonstrating to regulators that service introduction is being monitored. There's more scope outside of the standard, what you see, the software development life cycle, where business analysis resources is getting more and more important.
And that's a really good point. So the government have released their blueprint for modern government. And I guess, again, the role of the BA in harnessing, I guess, the government's thoughts and their roadmap for that, for public good. Where do we see that? What are we hoping to see from the government? How do we feel like it's in the best interest of the government to be using AI tools in that sense?
I think with government, it's all about doing more with less, because obviously it's public money. And I think that's where AI or like that modern technology can really help them, but if they find the right use cases. And I think that goes back to this whole idea of doing the product flow, like, or work, we're understanding that process to understand actually, is this problem here, is this pain point, this bottleneck actually caused by, we need a automation, or is it because we need to look further back at the operating model or another process? But, where things that, I've seen on some of the sectors I've been working in is like, so quality assurance. Quality is a great one because, you've got teams in there who could be looking at rows and rows of data when actually AI could do that. So I think we had one example of, there was someone using change requests. They had over 2 million change requests a year. We're getting about through 10% of them. As soon as you add in that quality assurance, and, there's still a human in the loop, so that doesn't go away, but it just means that person now has a lot more time to be more proactive and work on the more important high-risk activities rather than spending their time going through lots and lots of data. And I think that's a really good example in like public sector where they'll get that benefit from of just let's reduce our time on these tasks that aren't necessary and focus on more of the engaging, more important tasks.
I think that's really interesting, isn't it? Because the British public are a cynical bunch, I guess, and most of what you see about AI is very dystopian or very fear-mongering, I guess. So how do you get around that? How do you convince the British public that actually AI automation and feeding your personal information through these government AI-led tools is going to be of benefit to the public?
Things will get done quicker.
You won't have to spend an hour on hold to HMRC.
Yeah.
It's probably delighting the customer really in those cases. But I think it comes back to the right use cases because, say for example, your customer base or the people you're trying to reach are an older generation. They don't necessarily want to interact with AI. They want to have a conversation on the telephone. So it's recognising that, understanding your customer base or whoever the public sector, different segments of the public that you want to engage with, and then putting the right tooling and solutions in place that best fits them.
On that point, I guess, what does an AI strategy look like led by BA?
I mean, that will really depend on the organisation.
Yeah.
What do you want the AI to do? Rather than, right, what AI can I use? Think about, these are the capabilities. Don't go straight into the solution. Think about actually, are we wanting to improve process efficiency? Are we looking to improve quality? Are we looking to do less with more kind of thing? Maybe it's quite a lot of them, or maybe it's additional stuff. And that's where you then need to look through your processes, understand, how is that currently working today, and where can we use those capabilities? And I think that's, again, if the BA understands just a high level of like what are the different capabilities of AI, then you can start to find places for them, and they might be reusable capabilities, and that'll save you in terms of your cost and your impact and everything. So it's really more about finding actually what do we want AI to do rather than what AI do we want. What's the end goal? What do we actually need from this solution?
And not going in always with a lens of what do we need AI to do? Probably what do we need to do? What is the 5-year strategic aim of the organisation, and being open-minded about solutions in case AI wasn't your answer.
Yeah.
So from a cost perspective, that might not be the case. And that's where a business analysis process, which is looking at the as-is, the as-is structure and the to-be operating model can add value.
I was just going to say, because on that, when you're using AI should be a colleague. So you should be working it around, even when you're doing prompting, you're giving that agent or that AI tool instructions, and these instructions should be able to replace with either another person, if at that point, or an actual system or process. I don't think we should be seeing AI as this whole different thing. It's an assistant to you.
Yeah.
But I think also it's having time to innovate. So something I introduced at previous organisations is innovation planning and innovation sprints. I know I'm specifically talking more about software delivery, but it's giving the chance for your engineers, your business analysts, speak properly, to switch on tool sets within your governance framework, within the organisation, and just play and learn and find out and have that across your organisation. So you really need to give your teams and your people time to innovate and that space and time to think. I really think that should be part of your strategic thinking.
So I guess final question. You're a BA trying to navigate the modern landscape. What are your recommendations? What are your hints, tips, tricks of the trade, all that kind of thing to really kick on in your career?
Claire, you touched on it. So it's understanding, obviously, the bigger picture, but it is really understanding your industry, the regulatory framework, operational resilience, what underpins that, what's the important business processes and services for your organisation. And you need to understand cyber security, the threats, what's happening at the moment. You need to understand how your the tech stack and how your business processes work across your organisation. And again, we've touched on that in terms of the weak points and how you can strengthen them. But you really need to, and then it's what your net zero targets, where you are, and then where your costs sit and what the value is. But also, I think it's, companies out there. Everyone potentially is using similar data sets. So actually you could be devil's advocate and actually don't use AI or don't use latest emerging tech and do something traditional. And that could be your key point of differentiation. So I think, you really need to be over everything. It's probably not that helpful. But
No, I think you have to be, and always have had to be, jack of all trades and master of some. But you need to choose that some quite carefully at the moment. And as I said, you need to be wholly aware of AI, wholly aware of data and how to use it and what are the best tools to analyse data sets. I can see that we need to be much more aware of cyber security and how operations can be built to protect against ransom attacks, and also acutely aware of customers' needs and their demands in the modern landscape where they expect everything to be done very quickly and to their liking because they're used to it.
Yeah.
So, I think I'm going to press you all on it a little bit. You've got one thing that you can tell your aspiring BA to get this nailed down and it will be really beneficial for you. What are you picking?
Understand the data, the database that underpins your organisation, the key platforms and systems in your organisation, and then everything will come from that.
Yeah.
Probably knowing how to ask questions, being really thinking about actually what is it I'm trying to find out, and how and who and where do I get that answer from, and being confident enough that you can keep drilling down until you get exactly what answer you need.
I've got two.
There's always one.
I'll let you have two.
Yeah, what is the data that you're using and why?
Okay, I'll let you have one. That's one.
Sort of.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. Any closing thoughts for the BA?
I think it's a great time to be a BA. It's exciting. It's just keeping up with it. That's. But use that tooling, use those productivity gains that you get from all the advancing technologies to your advantage, and then that will give you the headspace to keep up with the industry and evolving technology.
We need to be able to do the SQL queries. Probably, could get away with it in the past, but we really need to be able to have strong data analysis skills now.
Perfect. That's all for today. Thank you all for your time. It's been really enjoyable and informative. Join us next time for the Big Questions in Tech with Airwalk Reply.
Subscribe now to never miss an episode of The Big Questions in Tech.